This is the Job Stories Podcast, how people find work that matters.
So my name's Ari Luxenberg. My job, I am a senior vice president of business affairs for Paramount Television, which is a lot of words in a row. So what it means is we create television programs. We go ahead and we will make a deal with various networks and platforms for those shows. And my responsibility is for the projects that I'm on. I negotiate all the deals. I'm a lawyer. Pretty much everyone who does this type of work, who works in business affairs in the entertainment business, is a lawyer, but you don't technically have to be a lawyer to do it. You're not technically practicing law. But so, for instance, one of the shows I've worked on now for, it might be like almost 6 years now, going back to when it was in early development, is this show, Jack Ryan, on Amazon. So that's our show. We create the show. We license it to Amazon. And so, for instance, I negotiate all the actor deals, negotiate the writer deals, director deals, producers. Creative comes and they say, we want to hire this writer to be on our writing staff, or we want to hire this actor for this particular role. I strategize in terms of, what we have budgeted, what we think we can, put together in terms of making a deal, what the other side, what the agent for the actor might ask for, and then put forth an offer and negotiate it out with the representatives for the talent. And then I'm also negotiating on behalf of our studio with the network. So in this case, Amazon, if there's a change to our license agreement or when we're pitching them a project, and beyond that, doing deals to acquire books, podcasts, graphic novels, acquiring the rights to certain pieces of intellectual property that we want to try and turn into television shows. Mm-hmm. So I work on Jack Ryan. I work on this show, Haunting of Hill House. And then our second season was Haunting of Bly Manor at Netflix. I'm working on a project right now that we have set up at Hulu called Devil in the White City, which is actually one of my favorite books. So made a deal for our director on that, and we're making more deals. Hopefully it will get picked up to series. We're rebooting Fatal Attraction. We're doing it as a television project. So variety of different deals with a bunch of different, networks, platforms. And it's a lot of fun. It can be stressful. And certainly it's intense when we're trying to get something done for something, trying to make a deal with someone who's very high level. But I like all those things. So it's what I always wanted to do. And that's like a brief synopsis of what it entails.
I love it, man. And I also love just right there, you said that's what you always wanted to do. I was telling the guys kind of before you jumped on, one of the first times you and I feel like hung out for real, like as buddies. You had just passed, I don't know if you remember this, but you had just passed the California bar exam. And then
I do remember passing the California bar exam.
I remember us hanging.
Big deal.
Well, if I remember correctly, a couple days after that was the Warner Brother job. Was that right?
That is, I mean, my career trajectory, it's a long circuitous route to get to where I want to end up. And it's a long, crazy story.
Right.
But yes, like I passed the Georgia bar, and I was a practicing attorney for a large law firm in Atlanta, and doing corporate work. But, since I was a kid, I wanted to work in entertainment. Growing up, I thought I wanted to be an agent. But while I was working at my firm as a corporate attorney, and I'll do the very short version, I realized that if I wanted to work in entertainment, I pretty much had to try my hand at it sooner rather than later, because you reach a point where you end up, having a great deal of responsibility, hard to move across the country and, to a city you've never lived in, where you don't really know anyone. So I booked a 1-week vacation from Atlanta to LA and was able to get informational interviews at 2 of the biggest talent agencies, CAA and then William Morris, just to go and talk to them about the chance at being an assistant. And CAA, I met there for 1 day, didn't really go anywhere. William Morris, I met with someone in HR. They asked me to come back the next day, meet with someone else in HR. I ended up being there 4 days in a row, and I was in LA for a total of 5 days. And I went back to Atlanta, and about a month later, they called me and they said, "We'd like you to, take a job in the mailroom," which is how a lot of people gotten their start in the entertainment business. There's actually a fantastic book about the legendary William Morris mailroom called The Mailroom. Mm-hmm. And I decided, I was going to do it, leave a 6-figure salary and put my law school loans on forbearance and deferment and go make 25 grand a year and answer someone's phone and get them coffee and the whole thing. And, then there was the writer's strike of 2007 with the WGA kind of messed up that opportunity. I moved out anyways. And it was just there's so many ups and downs. But I moved out and finally got my opportunity to work at William Morris. I started on a desk as an assistant in business affairs, but in the music side of the business, which is not where I'd set out to be. And eventually was able to make my way over into the TV side, which is what I wanted to do, and got the opportunity eventually to work at Warner Brothers doing what's called legal affairs. I was a legal executive there on the TV side. And I worked on this show, The Leftovers, on HBO. I worked on this show, The Middle, on ABC. This show, Blind Spot. I worked on a bunch of digital projects we did, some really cool comedies that we did for Adult Swim called Children's Hospital. And there was a spinoff to that called Newsreaders, and just tons of different pilots, tons of different projects. Heart of Dixie on the CW. Yeah, tons of different types of shows. Yeah. Great experience.
Yeah, I'm even thinking about this now because Matthew and I talk a lot about this just with our career paths and the ups and downs and emotionally what that's like. But man, Ari, you're saying you were in Georgia, had a pretty good salary working for a firm there, and then literally left that, took this leap of faith to go to LA because you knew what you wanted to do. You wanted to be in entertainment. And then when you got there, you got that kind of that your foot in the door, and then that didn't even work out as you had planned on it, leading up to, then you starting to get into the actual career path you set out all along for, just emotionally, the up and down. Do you mind to talk a little bit about that? I mean, what kind of kept you going all the way until you ended up where you are now, right? With basically what feels like kind of a dream career path for you.
Yeah, I would say that, me personally, I found early on, I was much happier working as an assistant, even in the department that I didn't set out to be in, just being an assistant in the music group at William Morris and cranking out contracts all day long, on behalf of my boss, because we had clients playing all over the world every single day. I was happier doing that and like eating oatmeal, pretty much for like dinner every night and making no money than I was when I worked at my law firm, making a really good salary, just because I was getting closer to what I ultimately wanted to do. And that made such a difference to me. It's obviously not the same for everyone, but that really helped keep me going. There was certainly a lot of ups and downs, and it was difficult to kind of get to where I ended up wanting to be. I always try and make time for students that I went to, who went to go to my undergrad, University of Florida, or law students who go to Emory, where I went to law school, and, try and give advice. Working hard obviously is a prerequisite, and you want to try and meet as many people as you possibly can, make good impressions, and start to build out, a network of people that within whatever business you're kind of what interests you. But beyond those things, you can in life never account for timing, and so you work really hard, you try and put yourself in the best possible position, and the longer you're able to stick it out, the more chance that the timing will fall into place. But there's never any guarantee of that. And I certainly was at a point where, I had the Georgia bar, but I also wanted to get the California bar, and I was studying for it. And I took it, and I was waiting for my results. And at that time, I had been really grinding away as being an assistant. And, I was living with roommates and trying to save money wherever I could. And it just came a point where, I need to start paying down my loans from law school again. I need to start making a real salary again. And I was considering the possibility of moving back to Atlanta, possibility of going back to work for a big firm there, just because I'd really given it 100%, everything I possibly could, just the timing, the situation, the jobs I had tried to go out for when I'm trying to pivot, and trying to move out from being an assistant and move my way up the ranks, for whatever reason, things had not fallen into place. And then almost, this kind of cosmic feeling of the puzzle pieces starting to fit together. I got this opportunity to interview at Warner Brothers, which is the place I'd always wanted to work, and met with the general counsel, the head of the TV group. And, somebody I'd met along the way who worked at HBO was close with him. Someone I met, just in my time being in LA, like I didn't know anyone when I got here and just trying to navigate my way through the business. But all of a sudden, all of these connections, all of these people that I had made good impressions on as I was trying to, navigate everything, it all started to fit together. And I ended up getting offered that job. And when I did, the general counsel told me that they had not had a candidate that had, better references, more references, nor better quality of what the references said. And here I was when I moved to LA, I didn't know anyone in the business really. So it was a product of all those years of trying to make it happen. But there was never any guarantee that I would get that shot. So once I got that opportunity at Warner Brothers, obviously, like that's all I really needed. I got the chance, and once I had that opportunity, it was almost like a weight lifted. Like at this point, all I have to do is work hard, which I was doing anyways and would do anyways.
Sure.
And so I worked there for 3.5 years, and then I went and moved on to Paramount, which I've been at Paramount just over 6 years now.
All right, when did you first start to have the dream of like, yeah, I want to be a lawyer, I think, if that's what I have to do, and I want to do it in the entertainment industry? When did that dream come about, and why even did that come? Because I'd never would have ever had the dream I want to work in the entertainment industry. That just wasn't on my radar. So why that?
Well, it's funny. It's ever since I can kind of remember being a kid. My dad, would take us to the movies every weekend. We'd watch all sorts of old movies, watch TV shows. I just was really enamored with entertainment, and even at a young age, I was a bit pragmatic and practical in thinking, I love all this stuff, but I really don't think I have the natural talent to be in front of the camera or act or to sing a song or any of those things. But I do like winning an argument. And, at the time when I was growing up, my goal was to be an agent. And this was before, the days of Entourage that kind of made that more mainstream, or even a show like Aris. This was before those things came out and, put that more into the cultural zeitgeist as, a career that people were aware of. But I was aware of it. I would read, the entertainment section of my local paper, the St. Pete Times. I'd read, Premiere Magazine. I was just, completely interested in all of these things. And when I moved out to work at the agency, my goal had still been to become an agent. And in working at an agency, I began to realize, I think I want to be on the other side of the phone, the person the agent's talking to. I want to be representing the studio. It was, just a feeling, having worked for a big international law firm, getting my start out of law school and liking that structure whereas the agency and being an agent is you're a bit more untethered, I would say. And in the end, it was a perfect thing for me because I really love being on the studio side and having a small hand when, in a project coming together, and you get to see kind of the fruits of your labor when everything comes together on screen. And I like being part of a larger team that's all working on the show together. So it ended up being the perfect fit for me. And, the agency track, when I was at William Morris, I'd been there for a year when Ari Emanuel's company Endeavor took over William Morris. And there was, a lot of difficulty getting through that big merger. And so the agency business, and it's continued to shift and change through the years as the entertainment business is constantly in a state of change. The only constant is change, really. But for whatever reason, I felt that my path was more geared towards wanting to be on the studio side. And I feel like it's been the perfect fit for me.
Yeah. And when did you graduate law school?
I graduated law school in 2006.
And when did you move out to LA?
I moved out to LA. It must have been the very end of December 2007, January 2008. It was right around then.
So why did you take was it just like, gosh, I got $100,000 in student loan debt and I need to work and I need to do it now? Is that why you took the job in Atlanta? Or why didn't you just go out there? Because you always knew you wanted to be in entertainment. Why didn't you just go out there as soon as law school was over? Like, what was that decision-making process like?
Well, the loan debt from law school was actually $150,000, which
$152,549.73.
Yeah. But it's one of those things where, and when I give advice, when I talk to people, I always tell them, don't do it necessarily the way that I did it. If I had it to do over again, I would have started much sooner and started making those connections, building a foundation to work in the industry that I wanted to be in. When I applied to law schools, I applied to law schools that had strong entertainment programs. And I was actually on the wait list at UCLA when I got into Emory. And Emory was a great school. My family wanted me to still be a bit closer living in the South. I had a bunch of friends who were also moving to Atlanta for their careers. And it was a great school. So my thinking was, I'm going to go to Emory. And, when you're in law school, your second summer, you usually summer for a large firm. That's typically what people will do. And the goal then is to do well that summer and be offered a job when you're finished with your third year of law school. So when you graduate and after you take the bar, there's a job waiting for you. And the firm that I went to had a very strong intellectual property division and had some big copyright cases. So there was at least, if not, truly entertainment law, there were aspects of copyright, First Amendment, trademark, things that are really adjacent to entertainment that I thought would give me good experience. And so that was my plan. The firm, there was a partner in the corporate group who liked me and wanted me for his division. That's what I was told after the fact. So I got the offer, but it was for corporate. And so I actually sat on my offer for a little bit. And I did book a trip to LA that summer. So it must have been the summer of 2005. And was able to meet with a couple entertainment attorneys who were gracious enough to give me some time. And all of them said it would not look bad on my resume ever to have big firm experience. And so that's why I took that opportunity. And beyond that, and in the entertainment world, you don't get, entertainment law especially, you don't get really an opportunity straight out of law school to have a real job, certainly not as an executive. So at the time, I wasn't thinking, well, I'll move out here, I'll be an assistant. I was thinking, how do I start my legal career so it'll put me in the best opportunity to transition? But if I'm being honest, I didn't have that roadmap all laid out in front of me. With no real ties to the business, never having really ever been to LA. It was more of a dream at that point and less, I would say, of a goal. And it took me making this radical shift in my life to, give up, leave my job, leave behind my friends and everything, move far away from my family to move to a city to, get someone coffee and answer their phone, like that, to really start to make it the possibility of being a reality. When I was in law school, I wasn't really as tangible as it could be in terms of what's my plan here. So I always give people advice and try and point them in ways that they could make things a little bit easier on themselves than I had given myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. You said in the entertainment industry, the only constant is really change. So kind of piggybacking off what you were just talking about, if I'm talking to somebody that's young, that's just out of college, that wants to get into, let's say, the TV film business, is going the route of kind of finding contacts and maybe starting in the mailroom. Is that still kind of the norm? Is that still the advice you might give somebody, is go ahead and jump into a William Morris if you can and start there?
Certainly. The big thing is, how are you going to get your foot in the door of the business to begin with? So, the agencies still provide such a great track or a great path. You might not necessarily have the opportunity to advance and become an agent, but many of the people who begin there as assistants don't even want to be an agent. They might want to take that opportunity, work on someone's desk for 2 years' time, and then be able to parlay that to move over to a management company where they become an assistant, where there's a room for them to grow to become a coordinator, because their ultimate goal is to be a manager so they can represent clients, but then also get a hand in producing. Same way, like you cut your teeth at an agency, now it opens up doors to maybe become an assistant or a coordinator at a studio. So really you're looking for the first chance to get your foot in the door. And the agencies are great about, it's hard to get your foot in the door there, but at least there are opportunities, because as you can imagine, the assistants who are there are either moving up or moving out, or, sometimes being let go. And so there is at least openings, and there are some, jobs availability. They certainly don't pay very much, but it's at least an opportunity. So I think that's what you have to look to first. But I would say in general, the earlier you can start building the foundation, and if you don't, if you have the chance to go to school in Los Angeles versus somewhere else, then yeah, it behooves you to be in Los Angeles and be close to it, because the opportunities are here. But let's say you go to school at Marquette, you're in Milwaukee. Find out, like, if you're undergrad, like maybe there's a speakers bureau that brings campus speakers to campus or brings concerts to campus. Maybe you can work for that department of the student government, start to meet the people who book those shows. Maybe there's a local playhouse. If you're thinking about it from your interest in the legal side, maybe there's a local playhouse. Go by there, see if they need someone to help review contracts. Just start to meet anyone you can that is tied some way to the aspect of entertainment business that you want to be in, because it ends up being a very, it's a very symbiotic business. We're dealing with the same people over and over again, all working kind of together in some ways, even when we're negotiating against each other. We all want a show to be successful, but you're just I'm dealing with the same law firms. I'm dealing with the same agencies. I'm dealing with the same studios, a variety of projects day in, day out. So the more chances you get to meet people who might know someone who knows someone, any chance you can get to build that foundation, start to hear about the opportunities that might be available. The sooner you can start doing that, the better. The better you can put yourself on the path towards getting to where you want to go and start to build out your experience.
Ari, I think don't know. I think when people hear just a little bit about your story, they'll say, "Oh my gosh, he's talking to a guy that is living his dream, and isn't that lucky? He must have some kind of random connection to LA or some random kind of connection to Warner Brothers." Do you have any connections to anyone in the entertainment industry before you moved out there?
No, which is kind of wild.
Interesting.
I actually, because I was able to get that first informational interview at William Morris, when I booked that 1 week vacation for my law firm, and it happened that my sister had gone to undergrad, and a friend that she went to college with, who I didn't really know, he was working as an assistant at William Morris. So he was able to tell HR, "Can you spend 15 minutes with this guy who's in law school?" And that was the only little bit I got. And actually, when I had my informational interview at CAA, they actually very upfront were asking me in the paperwork. I mean, maybe they've changed the paperwork since then, but the questions were, who do you know in the entertainment business? Who are you related to in the entertainment business? I was like, I don't know anyone, which it was just very shocking to me, because I was coming from, the big law world where, even the name, the managing partner, I remember, of my law firm, his son wasn't allowed to work at any of the offices of the law firm, because they didn't want to look like any sort of impropriety or anything like that. And then you move over in the entertainment side of things, and it's like, well, who do you know? What kind of value are you adding here? And I was like, I don't know anybody. I just want to talk about the possibility. And obviously that was a long time ago now, so who knows, what their policies are. But I always give a lot of credit to William Morris. They sat down with me. They gave me the chance to talk to them, and then they brought me back. It was there 4 days in a row. And so it helped me that's the thing, is you want to just as soon as you can start getting in front of people, the better, because you can't, it's one of those catch-22s, right? If people want to work in a certain field, and then until you get that opportunity, the people on the other side, who the gatekeepers, are going to say, well, I don't see that on your resume. Well, yeah, I can't put it on my resume until someone gives me my first opportunity. So what's going to move first? And that's the big thing. Start getting those opportunities. And the only way to get those opportunities is start meeting people that may bring you down the line to someone who can help you with one of those opportunities.
I'm thrilled that you're kind of touching on that, because truthfully, Ari, that's we were just talking about it before you jumped on, but that's why we're kind of do what we do as a recruiting firm. I mean, it would just thrill us to death that there's somebody out there that feels a little down and out, and nobody's really giving them that chance to get that experience that everybody else is telling them they need. If we could be that connector for them, then we're doing exactly what we want to do. So I love that you touched on that a little bit, and I think folks hearing this, it's unbelievably helpful. This is invaluable. Your story is super, super helpful. So I'm very appreciative, man. This is awesome. Matthew, do you have anything else?
Of course.
Yeah. So, what is your title? Director of Business Affairs at Head. Yeah. What's your title again?
Senior Vice President of Business Affairs. But I am a Senior Vice President. It's a title. It's not. I'm not the only one. Actually, I think now I might be the only one in my division. But the way that the divisions in business affairs get set up, it's not necessarily, a kind of pyramid. There could be multiple SVPs in a department, and certainly our department is at times had multiple SVPs. At the time right now, I think I am the only SVP, and then the position ahead of me would be our head of business affairs. So
I'm thinking
it just depends.
Yeah. And so you've achieved
the title that maybe some people are looking for, but what is on your radar as you think about the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, that you want to achieve, and maybe not in your work life, but what's kind of some goals you're looking towards as you look to the future? Because you've already, it's like you're almost those astronauts. They walk on the moon and then they get back to Earth and they've been like, okay, so now what do I do?
What's next?
Like, do I get up and go to work out today? So, like, talk about that in your life. Like, what's next on the horizon for you?
Yeah.
Well, I can promise you, it definitely doesn't feel like that. My goal is, the deals keep coming and the work keeps flowing, and so every day it's like, how am I going to close this deal? How am I going to navigate this? I'm in the middle today. Like, we got an actor deal I'm trying to close where, we have a certain amount of budget and we can't move off it. And they just came back with a counter that's way above our budget. And I'm strategizing with the producers about how we're going to maybe back channel with the talent, or can we talk to, maybe we'll talk to the manager first. Oh, I know the lawyer. Let me discuss with him. Can we talk to the network about it? So all day, those are the things I'm thinking about. I would say, on the horizon, personally, like, I want to, start a family. I got a serious girlfriend. So we're seeing how that goes, but things are going really well. And then, it's in its nascent stages, but randomly during the pandemic, I came up with a new way to build, those plastic planters when you buy a plant from like Home Depot or Lowe's. So I'm actually working on designing it. And I think it will be very positive for consumer experience and also much more environmentally friendly. So maybe one day I'll just be, running some sort of gardening empire. I have no idea, but that's what I'm working on. It's one of those things you go in Shark Tank, like, it was the pandemic. I was buying lots of plants because I had nothing else to do. And I thought there has to be a better way.
There you go.
And, and now I'm pitching to Mr. Wonderful. That's that. Who knows?
Isn't that how great ideas start some of the time? It's like, I wonder what somebody could do this different.
Yeah,
I wonder
that's right.
how it would be if somebody did it this way. So
Ari's
you might be on something.
It's going to shake up the home potting industry.
Yes.
I guarantee you weren't expecting that answer. So at least I tripped you up there a little bit.
Ari could probably write. You ought to go to a movie with Ari and just the guys, Carl, Will, and just sit with them for 5 minutes after the movie and their knowledge of storytelling. It's amazing. They'll point out things in film that I'm like, okay.
No, I thought you were going to say go to the movie with them and
Yeah.
have them ruin the movie for you. I was
You
thinking,
know
no,
everything
absolutely
about
not.
it. I know.
So Ari, he should write too. He just doesn't know it yet.
I will say I have a good friend who she won't go to the movies with me anymore. Her husband gets a laugh out of it. We all went as a big group to see when Wonder Woman came out, like opening night. Not the sequel, the original.
Yeah.
And obviously, spoiler alert if no one has seen the movie. But early on in the movie, they're trying to make you think that the one guy is the bad guy, and it's like they're trying to lay it on pretty thick. And I turned to her. I'm like, no. David Thewlis is the bad guy because he's too big of an actor to be in such a small role. He's clearly going to end up being the bad guy. And of course, that's what it ended up happening. And to this day, she's like, you spoiled the movie. You ruined it. I'm like, I didn't know. I've just seen a lot of movies, but I didn't know that he was the bad guy. I just guessed.
It
was an educated guess.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. But yeah, she won't let me go see movies with her anymore.
That's funny. Hard boundary.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, man, I think that'll do it. But seriously, I told you before coming on, but yeah, your story's great, and I truly think it can help people. Especially, and I think I mentioned this too, but there's so many people that we've talked to and candidates we've talked to in the last 18 months that are even switching careers right now. So people are just kind of looking for any little like source of hope for what's next. And so your story's spot on as far as inspiring folks that are kind of navigating their career path right now.
Well, yeah, happy to make time and to help any way I can. I think, it's a bit daunting, especially if you're going to shift careers. But I will say that it's very rewarding to obviously to have it work out. But I think for certain people, I know I'm one of them. I personally, regardless of how it all worked out, I had to try. And if it hadn't come together, then, it would have been disappointing. But at least I would have looked back and said, well, look, I worked as hard as I could. I scrounged and saved. I moved back in with roommates. I tried the best I could, and it just didn't happen. And I think personally, I could have lived with that. So I think people are, trying to make their way to the career that they want to have. I think it's obviously incredibly rewarding for it to all work out. But even if unfortunately, it doesn't all come together, I know for myself, it was important to at least try and know that I had put myself out there and, gave myself the best chance that I could to get to where I wanted to go.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. You're absolutely right. It's like, give it your best shot. And the rest take care of itself. And if it doesn't, you can still sleep at night knowing you tried. I love that, man. You're so right. Well, I think, Matthew, if that's it, I think we'll go ahead and wrap. But, man, appreciate you, man. This was awesome.
Of course. And Mason, next time you're out here in LA, we miss you on the basketball court. So make sure that jumper isn't too rusty.
Yeah, we didn't even get to touch on our 1-2 punch we had, man. That'll be another podcast.
It's a good back for it.
His left knees looks like it got
dude.
Took a trip on the pavement or something.
I'm
He's
struggling.
playing football apparently.
I'm struggling right now, dude.
Tell your wife Kylie not to be beating you up like at the house.
That's what it is. I looked at her wrong. That's what it is.
You better take out the trash, Mason.
That's
you don't
right.
want to incur her wrath.
You don't know how true that statement you just said is right now. That's hilarious. Man, we appreciate you, bro. Thanks so much, Ari.
Thanks.
Yeah, this was great. Thanks, guys.
Talk soon.